I get there and all I see is like a dim light room with all dudes, all players, all sad, just sitting around a table in total
All
silence,
depressed. Yeah.
all depressed. And I somehow end up sitting next to you.
Welcome everyone. This is the OG Monkey Business Show. It's been quite a while since I've had a chance to talk Dota, talk live, talk anything on camera. And last time I did this was also with Jay back in Los Angeles with Tituan in the Beyond the Summit studio. Good times.
Yeah, awesome. We're finally doing it again. The first time that we tried to do a podcast together, it was early December 2019. It's the first time
Yeah.
that I was around the CSGO guys and around you guys, and we were not even working together. So it's been a while indeed.
That was just how long ago before Corona was that? That was December, you say. So
Yeah, so you were coming from Lima, and
yes,
then Corona it hit when the March LA
March when
major
when
that
we
was
went back to
canceled.
LA for the LA major. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. And I haven't been back since.
To LA. I'm in LA right now. So I think that the idea is that we wanted to do the podcast because one of the problems that we always have is that people never get to really share into our story, into the things that we think and we do. And I think this will be a great way for us to directly talk to the audience, and for them to get to know us a little bit more of who we are outside of the games and outside of this. So yeah, I'm honestly been looking forward to the podcast for over a year, and we're finally here.
Yeah,
But if you want, we can
yeah.
stop just going around because I'm sure people are here for for what we have to talk about. I have a story for you, for everybody, about how Johan and I met and how we end up working together. And I think we spoke about this story a little bit on different occasions. Johan and I met. I think it was TI7. Is that the one that Liquid won or Wings? The 7 was Wings. So it's the one that Liquid won in Seattle.
Yeah, that was 7. Yeah, that was 7. And you've told me many times how you met my dad and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll go to that later because I peed next to your dad in China, and I was peeing next to him, and I look over, I was like, "You're Johan's dad." He looked at me like, "This is not the place. This is definitely not the moment." But how do you know? So yeah, but no, in PA7, I was there with EG. I was doing Life of a Genius with them, and at the after party, I've been hearing about these incredible after parties, and I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to an after
From who
party."
did you hear this
And
from?
I think the guys are GC and these guys. I mean, we went to a few tournaments together, but TI was supposed to be like this great after party that it was like all the finding and all the teams being made and people getting drunk. And when I get there, we go to this exclusive rooftop. I don't know. I don't want to say the name of the guy that had the rooftop, but I get there and all I see is like a dim light room with all dudes, all players, all sad, just sitting around a table in total
All
silence,
depressed. Yeah.
all depressed. And I somehow end up sitting next to you. And when the night could not really get any clownier, somebody felt that what the party needed was hot dogs and sausages to
More
add
hot
to the
dogs, more
incredible.
sausages.
Yeah,
Yeah. It turned out all right at the
and
end, but
that's
the party definitely had a long
uh
warm up. Not amazing though. Like I would say TI parties are never amazing, but this was definitely the best one just because it wasn't at the official venue.
and that's how we started talking, and that's how we started joking, and nothing to do with work, just clowning around. And you came later to ESL Hamburg next year with one of
Hmm.
your friends from Denmark when I was there with EG, and then we got to hang out again. And you also met some guy in the hotel or an Uber or something, and you end up bringing him with us
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
party.
yeah. Yeah, we met a fan, Ali, and he was super chill, super good vibes. And I met him a few times since, I think 2 or 3 times.
Okay,
But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. I just went to watch Counter Strike and kind of go see some esports without playing it. And I think that was the first event I kind of attended purely as a spectator. And yeah, I remember walking around town and taking some pictures, and we were in Hamburg in like the expensive part of town, I think.
Yep.
And we went to a Rolex. We were walking around like one of those neighborhoods where things they're selling things in the window and you can kind of see the price tags. And I just remember a Rolex watch costing like 800k, 800,000 euros. What a what a thing, man! But yeah, that was a really funny sport event. Really good city too. Good times.
That was the one where you're like, I'm gonna have to win a few TIs.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah, yeah. I
Uh-huh.
don't think I went to spectate ever since.
That party was really good, I have to say. There was, for people that don't know, there are some players that are really dancing. They like dancing. Jesse dance. Boba is the dance master in his own awkward and clumpy way, but he's there just dancing and giving it his all. It was really fun. I ended up dancing also with Mantu many times, but he was, I think that was during TI after parties. I don't remember if he was there. So yeah, we met there and then we stayed in touch. And somehow life brought us together back in November 2019. Sorry, December, when you came to LA. And then we brought us together during the LA major that you had to come to LA. And because there was no major, we actually got to talk a little bit more. And that's how we we end up here. It's no, maybe what is it called, like a not normal or way, but I think that is the OG life, developing friendships together.
Life tends to be pretty random at times, I would say. Very random, but usually for the better. It's nice, spices things up. I don't think we would have ever met
Yeah.
if it wasn't for our passion for esport, I guess. Unless I would have seen your Romanian movie, then I
How do
would
you
have.
see?
Then I definitely would have said hi if I saw you.
How is all this time for you now that you're like maybe like transitioning slowly to a different part of your place and a different part of your life? How does it feel for you, those memories? Do you remember them being
I still a
happy,
lot of nostalgia,
stressed?
of course. I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia. There was times when, of course, when life gave you more stuff to deal with, and when things were extra smooth. And I mean, many moments, especially around OG's first success and my first success, real success, like with the Frankfurt major win, the Manila major win. I definitely remember times around those victories being super tranquil because you also guarantee yourself a TI invite. Like everything is more relaxed. I kind of felt like I had finally also gotten some more simple way to say it, I guess, wins under your belt, something I felt like I worked really hard for and deserved, and so on. But there's also times when it's really stressful, and more so than the other, like through the whole Dota career and through life. Even I would say even after TI9, like the memories after TI9, after having won twice, have been very stressful, very hard, as hard as ever, really. Like with the practice, with the commitment, with the intensity, it didn't become easier to compete after success. It's just competition is always really hard, and with the DPC system later on, and Dota overall, it is a very intense world. It's a super intense world.
I think that,
So, but still, moments of
yeah,
just to finish it up, wrap it up nicely, like the nostalgia and the old, like the memory lane is a good one for me overall. It's wonderful. Like the stress, the bad things, all that is also build up to when you then succeed, right? So not having had success, and getting some majors and then never winning TI, and always grinding, always being hard, drama, emotional relationships with like so much tension between your teammates over time, like because you commit together, and it's really hard when you don't succeed at a project together. You have to work out so many things. It makes the victory so sweet. So memory lane is definitely overall very good, very nostalgic, very good to be nostalgic.
how far away does it feel? Does it feel like it happened just yesterday, or when you look back, it's like, fuck, it's been so long and a lot has rained since?
Yeah, I think about that, and it actually does feel both at times. Funnily enough, it feels like both. It feels like it's been so long, the whole journey and everything. But since I was in it, I don't think I reflected so much on my Fnatic days or TI, like the earlier TIs, like the 5 and 6 and stuff. More, the Dota still feels very close to me because I didn't really stop watching, and never really stopped thinking. Now, whenever I play other games, it's always in relation. It's so much in relation to Dota. I like to play many games, and I like to think that I took from everything I played, from all the small things, like the perspective change you can get from doing something else than Dota can greatly benefit you in Dota. But now, if I play chess, if I play anything, if I play any video game, it's still so much about my Dota brain. It affects it, it influences it. And so that still feels very close. I would say that feels like yesterday.
It's been such a big part of your life. I think that one of the one of the things that I have observed with you that I do have in myself in many different ways is that the cause, fighting for the objective, has been in a way the mission of your life. That's been what you sacrifice everything for, and what you woke up every day with a very clear objective. Yeah, the objective at different stages, but in a way we have romanticized the idea of like, okay, as long as I achieve this, then my life will make sense because everything that I work was to get there. And we make, and you made, incredible amount of sacrifices. One of them is that you had a life that, even though it was extraordinary, was not necessarily normal, but it was extraordinary, don't get me wrong. But now that you are in a way transitioning out of some of those things, you realize how you have specific dynamics that were only okay inside of that competition or high level mode. But there were no other ways to survive them. You couldn't survive your competition and your that. And I don't want to say like, oh, Dota players are different from everybody else. No, we see this with people that are going through med school. We see people that have these very high objectives that it has to be devoted every single second. And suddenly, space. And suddenly, no one telling you what to do. Suddenly, you don't have to wake up in the morning just to do this. How is that, dude? How is that transition for you?
It's still transitioning, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the routine, part of the routine went out the window with change of, change of pace, change of priorities, change of lifestyle. Like so many things have now changed for me, and so a lot for the better. Like in day to day life, mental health. There's a lot less. The anxiety was building up for me as well, like this Dota anxiety, where there's so many things I wanted to do. Don't get me wrong, like I still enjoy the competitive side of Dota. I still enjoy the high level as much as ever, I want to say. But part of the grind, part of like what you have to do to be the best, and for the amount of time a year that you have to actually do it, did not interest me very much. And there were so many other things pulling me, so it was building up for a long time, and now there's been like a massive release of tension and anxiety in my day to day or week to week or month to month. It is way different. And of course, there's always new problems and new things. There's definitely maybe a void that I'm still filling. I've done a pretty good job. There was a huge void. I don't think it's like the summit complex or whatever they talk about. Like you, because I have other goals, and finishing this goal for a while, of course, it left me wondering like, what do I want to do next? Like, what is actually going to be as exciting, or is it ever going to be as exciting? Is there anything that's going to come even close to this? But I filled my weeks, I filled my days with other things to do. Have my puppies. I'm working on getting as disciplined as I can, because that was part of my. It was very easy for me to be disciplined with Dota. It's much harder for me to be disciplined with now all these other things that I wanted to do, because they're also new. It's intimidating to constantly go into new things and fail when you know that you're so good at something and you've been so good at something, and it's kind of your bread and butter. It's your forte. It's you. It's who you are. Now, every time I do something, it's not who I am. I'm a child. I'm an infant. I'm like, I need to ask for help. I need to look up things. But I do enjoy it at the same time. I really enjoy, because partly it's the approach that we've always had in Dota, and that we always like philosophically have had in OG, and the leadership in OG is, you don't know. You don't know best. You don't know everything. You don't know the only way. You if you're smart enough, you know that there are many ways. And if you have that mindset, you kind of are always ready to be humble enough to actually also start on like an infant state again and be like, what do you see? You know better than me. I want to learn from
It's a
you.
new game to
Yeah,
level
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, but it's now I know that it's just so much more challenging with like growing stuff with like work like trying to keep a house running, all these things that all these life skills that I never really got to get. There's so many things I don't know. You know, I spent so much of my life playing Dota. I haven't gone to festivals. I haven't gone to parties. I haven't. There's so many types of relationships I haven't had because I've had the team relationship in Dota. I haven't had typical working relationships. I haven't had typical many types of relationships. Um, so yeah, now I'm 28 and I feel like I'm older in many aspects, but so much younger in many others, like knowledge wise, maturity wise.
it's a beautiful concept. You're putting it very beautifully. I never really thought about that. It's like, yeah, you haven't had a lot of relationships that we have had just normally through going through life because you've been in a very unique bubble.
Yeah, like my relationship with my family, my friends.
But that has to be exciting because everything that you're doing
True,
is new.
true. Exciting, intimidating, but overall, I'm getting a lot of joy out of it, and it's definitely healthy. It makes time feel longer. It makes time feel very fulfilling.
That's awesome. I mean, we're seeing right now through our eyes how the different people, are dealing with it. How Seb is also, in a way, trying to figure out his life, and he's doing a very good job about it with it. And you are figuring out your life, and you immediately found the few things that you wanted. You knew you wanted the puppies. Like, think about it. I always tell people how, like, in a way, the pinnacle of your ambition was the day that I retired, what I want to do is to get puppies because that was one of the things that you couldn't do. You couldn't just have a pet that you could take care of and nurture yourself and be there for the pet as much as the pet is there for you because you were gone all
Yeah,
year. And now
listen.
you have to run around like single that.
No, it's true. It's true. There's so many things I've wanted to do for a long time, and that's also what was pulling me. It's like have my puppy and my dog growing up. Could not feel good about getting a new one. Could not really have it in the Dota lifestyle. Yeah, I mean the list is long. Even plants, vegetables, fruits, like even cactuses might die. With my lifestyle, like the succulents. So it feels really nice to do lesser, like I don't want to call them lesser things, but simpler things, because Dota can get very complex and it's a very crazy human game we play.
I will say then for you a thought. I think that it really feels like also like a rebirth because when we are in Lisbon, everything is complicated. We couldn't even get like a phone or like the card to go through the when you're driving and there is payments. I don't know if I told you, dude, like I got a bill for a few $1,000 because I've been going through those things for a year without having the Via Verde,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
send it to
yeah. So it
Madrid
happened to you.
to my mom's house. Yeah,
Oh, I've heard of this in Portugal
yeah,
where, yeah, I need to go online as well because if you get the road tax and you don't pay your bill, it starts adding up with percentages and
yeah.
then boom, 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 boom. Oh, wow.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the crazy part about it is that they didn't even send me the bill to where my mom lives right now, or to where she used to live before. They sent it to 3 houses ago. Somehow I haven't lived there since I was 8. And that's where they send the bills because when we bought the car, that's where we. Okay, for all you guys that don't know. So Johan and I have been driving my mom's car. That the car is like 20 years old. And that's our car in Lisbon. Now we bought both cars this Christmas, but we've been driving this crappy old car for the whole year that we were there. And yeah, so that car was bought and registered at a house that we don't even live anymore. And during Christmas, my mom went there, and they gave her like a sack of of bills, and none of them were paid. So I was thinking, well, I mean, I will eventually either get a bill or something. So yeah, I that was my
There you
Christmas
go.
present.
There are apparently cases here in Portugal where there's some that owe like tens of thousands of euros. Yeah.
The another story that I have for you about my Christmas is that I'm in LA right now. I moved back to LA and I'm in an Airbnb, living in an Airbnb. I locked myself out of my Airbnb and I couldn't get in. And the host lives in Florida, which means I couldn't get access to it. For until 2:30 in the morning. I tried to get in and couldn't. And the next morning, when it was not dark, I actually asked my neighbor and climbed through the window. So I climbed through the window, opened the door, took the bolt and the keys apart, went to a locksmith, bought a bolt, came back, and changed the locks. So I was able to get in. I had to break in into my own Airbnb, and I had to tell the host, by the way, you have new keys.
But
But
wait,
I
would
was
you
so
lose the
proud of
key? What
myself.
happened to the key?
Yeah, the key's gone. I have no idea.
Oh shoot! Oh
No idea.
wow! Oh wow!
But dude,
Airbnb
that was like an
struggles.
adulting moment, you know? I
Yeah,
felt
yeah,
so
yeah.
happy that I could change a bolt. I felt like I was like MacGyver, you know? My Eye of the Tiger moment montage, you know?
I have a lot of those right now too. Like simple things like that make you feel like a man. It's like, yeah.
Well, you've been secluded in your own bubble of video games, and I've been secluded on my own bubble of movies. I've never changed a tire of a car. I don't know
Yeah.
how to do anything besides making films and now produce and run OG. So I've never really had to get any, I was going to say, real life skills.
That's the world we live in, right? Like for most people.
Yeah, but I've never had to do it. Never had a car, never did anything like that. And my taxes, an accountant does it, you know? Like there's so many shortcuts that we've taken where we never had to
Yeah.
face
Yeah.
those kind of situations.
But I think it's just where society has kind of progressed more or less, right? People are so specialized in what they do. I say people, maybe it's still a smaller percentage than the larger percentage, but I think it's an ever growing one. Like people are allowed to be specialized in something, and they're almost as bad as people who need help, who are handicapped or who are missing limbs. Like there are some people out there who are worse off than a person who's lacking an arm. Like they actually have less self-survivable or self-sustaining skills, but they're so specialized in something that yeah, the society allows them to be that. They can always call someone to have something fixed. They can always find someone who knows, and then all you need is food and water, right? And then you can keep doing what you're doing best.
And money to pay for those people.
Yeah, right. And then you need the money to sustain it, but that's the system.
I think it's been very eye opener because I'm 36, and in a way I left part of my bubble 2 years ago, part of it. And then I enter a new bubble that is the OG bubble, where I work, imagine 12, 13, 15 hours a day. And now my sets of problems are very different. And like you said, I had to relearn or learn about a few other things, you know, like for example, one of the things that I have to do in OG, which is very different, is other people's needs have to be attended, you know. In movies, I've never had to do that. There was somebody else was doing that. And the the different cultures that we have to deal with in OG is at the same time my favorite part of OG, but also the most challenging one, you know, because this is really a global company. There's people from everywhere. You know, Amar right now from Jordan, this funny guy, and then I have to deal with Danish people and Danish culture and French people, and I think that has been like I think the steepest and the best learning curve. Because when I joined, I thought it was so complicated
Yeah,
for all of you guys also that don't know, so when I joined OG had an office in Paris. I was scared shitless, but not witless. Okay, I was scared shitless of just going into an office, but I don't know anyone, never met anyone, and I would have to be like, "Hi, I am the new CEO." Even though you all know OG better than me, you made OG. OG is yours. Now you guys have to try to help me help you. That was so intimidating. I did it remote for 8 months before I actually met anybody in person. I think that gave me a lot of space to try to figure out my own. I was gonna say my own shit, you know, my own things.
that might be a good leap to do it online first. Might be a good first start for someone who hasn't had the experience before.
Yeah, and I can imagine even from the first day, you know, what it would be like a first day of school. You know, what do I wear? What are they expecting me to expect them to expect of me? You know, because in
Yeah,
movies, like like you can wear whatever you want and no one cares.
but now it's the world of Zoom calls, right?
Zoom calls, yeah. I'm actually not wearing pants
So
right
you're
now.
just gonna meet
So,
someone for the first time. Exactly. You're gonna meet someone the first time. It's like, oh, we're bringing pants today. I didn't know. Like I never wear
yeah,
pants.
yeah. It's been, I have to say, you are one of actually the trickiest person to talk Zoom calls, because I feel that the interactions that we have are radically different in person than they are on Zoom calls. and you go from like complete warmth and love when I meet you in person, but it's harder to feel it, here. So that's why definitely Johan is like a in-person person. It's a compliment, believe it or not, because all this warmth happens when I see you in person. That's why we live together in Lisbon.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a rough thing to have human interaction purely over our 2D screens. It's very hard to grasp. Like, yeah, emotional communication for sure. I guess way harder, but also getting points across. Maybe for some, maybe in some occasions, it's easier or better. But I would say most of the time, yeah, would be a struggle to talk as well online as it is in person. Which also sad thing when that happened to the DPC or like the world, I guess for Dota, for DPC, for everything, like less lands, less of this meeting up, boot camping, peaking. I would say Dota is not so much about peaking anymore. It's just about making it throughout the year and then peaking at TI. But before it was about peaking a few times a year. That would get you to TI, and it made, from a competitive professional perspective, it definitely made the games more interesting. The game, watching the game more interesting. Now you have more Dota to watch, which of course has its upsides, but you don't have those high peaks throughout the year.
So this is a great segue. I don't know if you frame it on purpose, but it was perfect. Okay, so one of the things that we always talk about the DPC. So now we're moving to DPC. So one of the main things that you're saying, which is what we have discussed so many times, is that Dota has changed a lot, not only inside the game but outside the game. And this DPC that we have right now is a very grindy system. You have to grind all year because you have to be consistently good throughout the whole year. While before, we used to have a system that rewarded picking at specific moments. You just have to pick for 2 weeks. And then you were in TI, and then you just have to pick for another 2 weeks, and then you win. And it has changed completely the dynamic. It has changed completely the calendar. And I'm going to say my perspective, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, it has made it to where the old professionals are finding it very hard to live in the system.
I don't know how Puppy does it. He has a kid,
It just requires your whole life.
but I can see the struggle for anyone who tries to have. So already the competition basically asks for all your time. You need to be ready to sacrifice almost all your time, because if someone else is doing it and if you're not the best and if your peak and your talent and whatever you have is not good enough, the only thing you can do is work harder. But if you're trying to plan out your 365 days and want to give something to stability, life, which can also help your competition and your peaks and your eventual TI peak, it is so hard in the system. It is so hard. People will try to peak early on, but now they made it even harder because the first major is going to give less points. But ideally, you want to secure yourself at some point. The earlier, the better, through your 365 days or before the next TI, and you want to get that, like you want to punch your ticket, and then you want to be able to plan accordingly. If you want to, bring your A game for TI, you can do whatever you feel like you need to do. That probably does not involve playing really poorly at 2 other major tournaments or 1 or whatever, because you don't want to ruin your self-esteem. You don't want to fall behind. You want to be present. You definitely want to be at that LAN event and get better. But it might mean that you can have less pressure and be able to stabilize your week more and approach the next whatever you'd have, like the next major qualifier, radically differently. Because here you have to be ready once a week, which is kind of like an illusion that it's not just 1 day a week. You need to get ready like a few days before, and you need to always stay ready. You can argue that you have to watch every game. You have to constantly watch the meta develop and the pubs, because there's so much time in between the official game, in between the official games, that the whole meta is already getting digested in the public games, that you very quickly also fall behind if you're purely looking at the official games. So it's asking for many more days, so many more hours than it was previous years. And for people like Poppy, Kuro, me, somebody who's been doing this for 10 years in Dota 2, it's too stressful. It's too much. It's unhealthy, and it's not fun. I would say it's not fun for us, and it's not about peaking in Dota. It's not about ultimate peaks. It's about peaking just enough and punching your ticket. Like instead of having more hype, more to play for, a big tournament, a major chance to relax, a chance to spend your time more wisely, a chance to prep better for TI. So much more at stake in a way, which makes it more hype to watch, makes it more hype to prepare, makes it more hype to play.
So I will say I want to try to ask you or ask us some of the things that I see on Reddit and all that. They say, well, what is this so different from football players that play once a week or twice a week? Well, I want to take this one because I have friends that are professional players in huge teams in Real Madrid, for example, and they do not train at all anywhere comparable to what a Dota player plays. Normal week on Real Madrid, you go there in the morning, you have breakfast with the team, you do 1 hour of prep by yourself physically, then you go on the field for just 2 hours, then you go to the massage for 1 hour, then you go to the hyperbaric chamber or the water and cold for another hour, and then you go home, you sleep, nap, and your evenings are free. In Dota, you have to be like, I think I have to look at the number. I think Amar played 17 pubs on New Year. 17 in one day. This guy's a machine. Like that is what Dota has become.
Very typical thing, right? You see many players who do it. Yeah, and you see many players who do it. And a lot of these players are the ones who are pushing the meta and are pushing the way heroes can click buttons and show the world how new ideas can beat other old ideas. And then you have people who can take advantage of it, people who steal it, people who this and that, and who actually takes his time and uses it for themselves. And that means he has to spend even more time to still be him, to be re-innovating and blah blah blah. It's a crazy ask, this, because pubs don't sleep, Dota doesn't sleep, a lot of these players and teams don't sleep. Surely Kuro, Puppy, Seb, me, we could show up at official games and do something to you that's never been done to you before and break your team. But getting to TI is really hard now. Getting to these tournaments is a lot harder now. You have to be in your A game once a week. You have to let so many things not get to you. And now I would also argue that with the changes to Dota, with the changes to the laning phase, there's a lot more of this practice that you have to do as a team and as an individual, compared to what it was before, which is again another big ask. I love it because it makes Dota also very fast paced, but oh boy, it is hard to have a life next to it. That's all I have to say. It's very hard to have a life next to it.
The world has changed and the generation has changed, and we just have to leave space for the new guys, which is literally what we did. This is exactly the premise that we saw after TI, and we sat down. Well, I used the we because I want to feel part of this, but it was not me, it was you guys. You guys were able to identify exactly where thought I was going and exactly the steps that we needed to take for us to start working to that direction. I have to admit, it has worked really fast. And obviously, we were not expecting this level of success from the beginning, but we knew that we were doing the right foundations. And in a way, we've never told the guys, hey, there is any pressure to win right now. Like, forget about all this, If you win, great. If you don't win, great. But what we're doing is exactly what you're saying is we're setting up the foundations of how do we do this? How do we schedule our days? How do we schedule our weeks? When do we have to peak? How does peaking looks like? How do we manage burnout, and what are our objectives? Now, one thing that has been extremely fun to watch is that the guys want to play all day. Dude, there was like a tournament the other day in CIS where some of the CIS teams were playing. And I got a message saying, hey, can we play these small tournaments? I was like, you guys don't have enough with 17 pubs a day? They want to play. They just want to play. They're just so hungry to play. And it was like, yeah, guys, play whatever you want,
Which I think will also be it's a natural evolution for this new system, for the meta, for everything is, yeah, your motivation has to be extremely high, which most likely will lie with younger people or with the people who feel like they have a lot more to prove. That is ageless, right? But definitely, like, I can speak for myself in my youth, my younger days. There was when I was 16, 17, or even younger, there was no such thing as not playing. It was the only thing I was doing anyway. It was my coping mechanism when life was getting hard, when my heart was broken, when many things like were sad. It was just go play. That was my water. That was me drinking water. So I could have lived in the system back
Hmm.
then. I could have definitely done it. But yeah, sure. If you would have asked me back then, I would have died doing it. No problem. I would have died doing it. I would have said, I'll sign a contract that puts me here forever until death. But as you get older, it does change. It really does change. It doesn't
Not
really work like
anymore.
that.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Like now, it's not that I don't love the game. Far from it. Again, I love the competitive aspect. I love playing with teammates that I signed up for a project for, that I want to, I want to go into this project with. I love making a project work with other humans. But no, like the grind, the pubs, the dealing with Dalai Lama or uh, Mali burgers or whatever in the public games, it is not worth it right now. Like it's the mental health from, yeah, in my world where I stopped enjoying it and I still had to do it. From then to now, it is so big difference. It's so big difference. Just not doing it is already good, and then doing something else is like incredible.
I think that, so I was very close to you and literally physically and emotionally while you were going through this, and you didn't realize that you didn't want to do it. You were in a way in denial the last part of the year because you were so motivated and so convinced about this TI. You were so excited because you haven't been to TI in 2 years, in like to Alan in 2 years. You were honestly radiating energy, but it was more like I felt that you were just exhausted in the background. It was more like I know I
Yeah,
have to do this. I know we have to get everybody ready, but
sure.
oh shit.
I think a good way of putting it is like this. There's a big chore aspect of the whole grind. There's things that will just feel like chores, and as time went on, it started feeling more like chores. Whereas to Amar right now, pubs do not feel like a chore. Working on these heroes and these things do not feel like a chore. But to me, it started definitely feeling like that, and I didn't mind doing it. I don't mind scooping poop all day, as long as I get to also enjoy the
Yeah.
evening drink with the rest. Like we get to play our high level games, we get to play the high stakes. Everybody shows up ready, everybody's done their chores, everybody's done everything. I would do it. I did do it. I love doing it. But yeah, I would have been not a good teammate for sure this year, so I would have regretted playing like right away this season. It would have been a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So all is well, all correct decisions have been made, also judging by the Dota
I
roster.
think so. I think that the right decisions have been made because the Dota roster is working, and you can see the premise of you starting. And the whole premise of we started is this is what the system is going to look like. This is what Dota is going to need, and we need people that can and want and are happy and thrive in this, and that's how we build a roster. And it also showed me that it was the right decision because I've seen you also getting happier and happier and happier every day. I see now you're helping me with OG and we're working in OG together and with Seb, which has been amazing as well, because it was a little bit, I had always the, how do you call it, the imposter syndrome, because I have to run a company that I didn't build, I didn't create, and I didn't make legendary, And in a way, it was like, I felt the whole time, hey, Johan, is this painting okay? Good. Okay. Hey, Johan. And you're like, okay, dude, I'm like 3 days before playing DI. Can we talk after? I was like, okay, fine. But I wanted to make you guys proud. It was more like putting like the cat that drags the bird and puts into your feet. It's like, you see, I killed it for you. so
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been really good
yeah.
now having a lot more access to you guys. Yeah, very,
Ah, for
very good.
sure. It's also, I mean, OG was kind of not OG, like I would say, Monkey Business and Team Secret was kind of like bastard children of the bastard scene that was going on. And the
Yeah.
vision has always been to create a place that was right for people to go to, that was fair for people to go to. And even though we've tried really hard, Seb and I, when we got into this and really tried to get a little more real and professional, and also for the first time, like trying to figure out how to do this the correct way, because it is much, much, much easier said than done. trying to do just, trying to do right, trying to do fair, it is so much easier said than done. But at the same time, it's what we want to do. It's great, but many years of practice, I would say, like running business, running an organization, trying to figure out like the budget, the fairness, what like, and something called growth as well, is like how much is the company gonna take for it to grow, and to view it as its own entity. Because yeah, sure, when we were monkey business, it was like just a bunch of thieves who are, you know, there to rob a pot of gold together, and we're all going to split it equally. But when you have an entity like an org, and there's always been the vision, it's to have an org that can run, that can grow, that will have employees, and that is there to support the players. It's, yeah, it just comes with a lot of trickiness and a lot of like figuring out. But at the end of the day, if you're fully transparent, I don't think anything should come back to bite anyone. If you're fully transparent and if you're fully trying your best, all that can happen is failure. And then you can, you know, chase each other and be like, well, why did you do this? Was like, I, you know, tried, it failed. And I also told you, you know, at least if there is the communication and there is the transparency, I think this is like the most important step for the employees, for the company itself, for everything. Is like, yeah, it's it's a world of a difference from back in the day in esport when I was in orgs. Telling each other not to talk to other employees and stuff. It's crazy.
I mean, I'm very glad that it come down to, for us, to, hey, maybe you should not do this, maybe you should do that, instead of just the horror stories that we heard. I would say that for me, and maybe this is my my apology tour, I do try very hard to be good for you guys, because I know what this company means to you. I know the spirit in which this company was formed. And every single time we talk about anything, I am constantly reminded that OG is a company driven by values. And those values are Johan and Seb, and the sunflower power, the flower of friendship, the be nice, enable, grow, the flowers make flowers. And it is always in our mind. It is very interesting how we go from two gentlemen into me, and me into five, and five into 30, and 30 into 70, you know? And how, in a way, everyone takes it, and everybody, when they share it, it's slightly different, and it
Of
changes
course.
slightly, you know?
Yeah.
And it's good, because it means that our or your identity is becoming more three-dimensional. But it's also very, you have to constantly nurture it and constantly give feedback. Otherwise, at one point, somebody thinks that he's doing the right thing, but unfortunately, it's like, not exactly like that, you know? Like, this is more what we meant. I can feel who is a player and who's not a player, or who's been around a player and who's not been around a player. You can see it right away, because you don't know really what a player feels until you spend an incredible amount of time with them.
Yeah.
You don't know
And
what they need.
so it's always a minefield in that sense. Like there's always these minefields for you to go through as you know, you're trying to feed our worldview or our company view to so many people working in OG daily, where Seb and I could definitely play a much bigger part, or we could do our part, which would be bigger and stuff. But at the same time, it's the same thing for you. It's like everybody is always able to be anxious over everything. Like at the end of the day, nobody is in control of the world. Us humans, we like to think that we are. But the philosophy that I have, and the philosophy that, I mean, I know you know, and it's the same thing for Seb. The philosophy he has is, you know, as long as you try your best, that's all. That's all. Because if you're gonna, and I tell you this, yet I think me and Seb and you have spent many restless and sleepless nights over, have I done a good job? Like, have I been a good person? Have I, you know, have I done right by
Yeah.
people? Like, the responsibility is very heavy and rests very heavy on our shoulders, which is also why I think it's very important to remind ourselves. And I say this to everyone watching this: is like, remind yourselves, nobody can ask more of you if you try your best. You know, that should hopefully let you sleep easier at night, because you could take the whole world's responsibility on your shoulders, but it's just going to crush you and it's going to do nobody no good. And what's the point of that? And there's no arguments for it, you know, like just do your best and try, because yeah, the world is always intimidating in that sense. Screw it. Don't let it control you.
maybe I'm gonna give them too much power, but I would say like we do read the comments, okay? We do read them, unfortunately. Sometimes, we read them. And I would say that we are all the three of us do a lot of introspection. We do feel like, okay, did we did this right? Did we didn't do this right? I would like the comments to be, I'm okay with the criticism, just maybe don't curse at my mom, just keep it on. Hey, I think that this is not right, I think that you guys doing this, because I think it's important, because at the end of the day, the beautiful thing about OG and about esports is that it really belongs to the community if you really think about it properly. I am in a way the guy that is driving something that I didn't make, it doesn't belong to me, with fans that have their own personal relationship with our game and with our brand. And I have to serve all those stakeholders. So give feedback. This is super important. Be super involved. We have an incredible Discord where, people keep me true. Don't think that they spend the whole day telling me how great I am. I actually, like, don't ever worry about that, because I get more hey, you should do this different. Hey, you should do this different. Then amazing. But it's good. I like it because it means that everybody's passionate about it. Nobody gives you feedback if they're not passionate about you. Even the person that goes there to troll you online is passionate about you. So passionate that he's literally taking their time to curse you, or to do that. And I think that, like I said, we do read them and we spend a lot of time trying to figure out, did we do the right thing? And if not, when presented with the opportunity, how we would do it better, which is at the end of the day, the only thing we can do. Because if we really bring all this approach that some other orgs have done, hey, this is how it works in other esports, this is how it works in business, you better work this way. I don't think it's very authentic to the brand and to the community. You can't tell the community what to be. You can try to persuade her, educate you into doing some things, but it's not, you don't control it. So in a way, it's like a wave, you can choose to get on the wave or you can choose not to get on the wave. I'll give you, for example, one of the biggest challenges this year for me. And to this day, I still don't know how to do it. I have thought about it so many times. I'm constantly getting offers for the guys of the CSGO players. Constantly. Should I tell them or should I don't? Because if you tell them, immediately you create uncertainty. Immediately you create, oh, well, that other girl likes me. I mean, I have a girlfriend, but sometimes we argue. Yeah, you can't really think that way, But if you don't tell them, then the team in question is gonna go around you, or somebody's gonna start leaking because this is gonna happen. So it's super tricky. I still have not figured out how to tell them, or when to tell them, or how to tell them. And if I tell them, because I have no interest ever of selling any of the guys. But if you wait too long and then it comes out, so it's super tricky. It's super, super tricky. And you talk to the players and the players are like, no, I want to know, obviously. But then when it happens to the other player, let's say I have player A, player one, okay? And I tell player one, then player two is like, dude, why would you do him? Like, now we all have to deal with this. So player one wants to know that there's an offer on him. But player 2, 3, 4, and 5 are like, dude, why would you do that? And vice versa,
It's a very different ecosystem. It's a very strange one.
So they all want to know, but they
I
don't
don't know what
want.
to think of it. I mean, for me, it sounds like a very unhealthy way of going about things. I don't know what normal procedure in sport is. I imagine it's simply orgs waving big bids and then it becomes public. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Um, but to me, it's a very
I think in
foreign
sport
concept.
you have a transfer list. So in League of Legends, in Overwatch, and in sports, you have a transfer period. You can't transfer people in the middle of a year. But Valve
Uh-huh.
doesn't care. So you can do whatever you want. That's the problem. Because, for example, if we finish the season like in Dota, and like, okay, now I have 3 months to make a new roster, everybody's expected to either be on the transfer or be possible.
But there are still. I don't remember how it goes in Dota. In Dota, you have DPC punishments, right? Like you can get punished through points if
Yes, sir.
you transfer.
But
Yeah.
you're right. In Dota, you have this incredibly big price pool in TI that it's gonna deter you from doing that. But CS:GO doesn't have it. So there are constant changes. They're like, yeah, they're ESL points, there are blast points, there are major points, RMR points, but they don't have like a date of, hey, roster lock, you know.
And you never lose slots when rosters change. You never
You
you can
do,
change.
but there are many, 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 many windows. At the end of the day, you can
Okay,
choose how to run your calendar. You know, maybe you're not
I
in
see.
EPL, maybe you're not in Blast, so your lock
Yeah,
is whenever you want to lock it. You know,
yeah.
so
To me, it sounds foreign and very toxic. Yeah,
so that part is still a lot to learn, and a lot to learn because I don't want to take the approach that maybe other teams do. Other teams are like, okay, I'm gonna trade you whenever I want, and you one day will find out you're on another team. You know, obviously you will have to sign a contract with the other team, but for us, all the rosters in OG are made by the players and by the synergies with themselves. You know, it's never been me waving a magic wand and saying that's it.
but again, like going back to what maybe people feel like implementing in a certain esport in a certain game, and they do it for the reason that it's been done before, it's been done somewhere else, it's been done in business, or I don't care. I find it very bizarre to commit to projects with people without fully committing, which could be the case here in CS:GO, where you want to keep it. You could, for me, it's like hiding behind words. If you would say a professional approach is to treat this like work, and for everybody to make their own, always chase their own best benefit or their own best salary, their own best amount of money. Because I would not want to be in a project with them if this project is competition. To me, competition comes with winning together, showing the world that you're the best, challenging your own competence, challenging your own goal making. Like if you set yourself a goal, can you actually achieve it? Can you get there? Or are you just a phony? Are you just pretending that you can? Are you pretending that you're good? No, like if you say something, you want to be able to back it up. And if you were to go into CSGO, and this is how it was, where it's like one dude is not going to commit. I want to hear every offer that comes my way. But then his teammate asks him, "Oh, are you fully committed to this together with me?" And he says, "Yes." That's very two-faced. So either he tells his team, like, "No, I'm not fully committed to this," and then I don't know who would say yes to that. Like, I don't think it's a very competitive spirit anyway. Like,
Yeah, I don't think it's just as binary as you make it. I think that everybody has the commitment and the uncertainty in them, you know. And you lose one game and one of them flares out, and you win one game and the other one flares out. You know,
sure, but now again,
it's very
it
tricky.
comes down to then words. Are you lying to yourself? Are you going to be lying to others? Because if you tell, like, if you let that little voice dominate in your head, where you lose one game, and it's like, are these guys good enough? Can these guys win it? Can this guy, perform when he needs to? There's going to be a million voices telling you. We used to call it the knock knock at TI10, right? Like Seb was very good at talking a lot of sense in very few words, and then at the end of the day, it comes down to philosophy, if you believe it or not. But there are going to be this uncertainty. There's this devil on your shoulder, whatever you want to call it, that always can paint a negative picture of the world. And then there's the other one where it's like you and me. I'm telling you right now, Juan. One day we're gonna climb Mount Everest together. Do you believe it? Do you see it? Can you see us doing it? Do you really not see us doing it? Like I see it. And then seeing is believing, believing is seeing. This is my like. I don't want to choose many hills to fight on and die on. There's not many I care about, but this is one I'm ready for. I would take this fight with anyone. It's like to become a proper team. It is to commit. It is to commit to each other. It is to commit into this relationship, project, whatever you want to call it. Where it's like, then you can be transparent and you can say that, of course, like if we're not happy together in a month from now, in 2 months from now, in 3 months from now, let's talk about it. Let's not marry each other till death do us part. Like let's be real. But for this project to work, for this competition to work, I need to feel like we're both so deep together that we're ready to die for it together. Because if we're going to climb Mount Everest, I hope you're ready to die for me, because it's gonna depend on that. It's gonna depend on that for both of us to make it, for us to make it to the top. That's a hill I'm ready to fight and die on. With anyone. I don't believe in team sports that don't have this. Like I don't believe that team games that, like, if it's a high competition team game, the team that has this is gonna beat the teams that don't have this.
Now you guys see why I joined OG and how I left my house in LA to move to Europe. I got this speech and I was like, "We're going to Everest, yeah!" But I agree with
Yeah,
you. I think I told you, like, personally, I was looking for a project where people were be as committed as I was, and here you always gave me this, and this has been true and it has been honest. Doesn't mean that every day we can all give each other what we need, but it means that we all want to. we all really,
Yes.
really want to
And
give each
truly,
other what
that
we need.
means, like, you
Yeah.
don't make up words. Like, now I go back to the Counter Strike thing. Like, you don't make up things in your head to justify, because this is then when it comes down to, like, do you truly even believe it yourself? Like, are you just making this up to protect your fragile ego or to protect your finances, or like later on, which is again is like maybe just ego related, like, or are you truly vulnerable, ready to commit, believing in your teammate, believing that he is good, he knows what he's talking about, that he has the potential? Because if you really didn't have it from the beginning, you didn't really give it a fair chance. If you really weren't ready to die for it yourself, it's there's probably a really nice metaphor or analogy for this, but it's like if you're going into that gladiator pen together and you need two men to take down the lion, but it's like one dude just starts running inches before the lion gets to him. Now you're both dead. It's like, then of course it didn't work, But if one actually died, but the other one got the lion for that, you could argue that it worked, And many of these games is about that. I think people have to be ready to die for it. They have to be ready to die for each other, and that truly means commitment. Like, true to your word, expose yourself, like all these things. So back to the Counter Strike thing. Like, if I was a CS pro player, I would need that from my teammates. Otherwise, I don't think I could work like that. I think it would be too awkward for me. And I think that's the spirit of competition too in team sports.
I have a sentence that I always say is that everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah,
wants to
yeah.
go to heaven. Everybody wants to win. Everybody
Exactly.
wants to
Yeah.
be the CEO. Everybody wants to be the director. Everybody wants to be this. Everybody wants to be you. Oof, but the crown lays heavy. Eh? There is a massive price that we all pay to be there. And when
Yeah.
you pay it and you know that everybody around you is paying it with you, it's awesome. It's awesome. Still unhealthy at times, but it's awesome. It's super
True.
awesome.
No.
And I
Yep.
think that that's the best thing that I got out of OG. That when people think, oh, are Seb and Johan here? Yes, they are every day. Maybe they're not talking to me that day, but they're here. They're looking, they're thinking, And now we have this new system where we talk once a day, every day, and it's been really good to have someone to bounce these ideas with, and not only someone, to have you guys. And it's just so interesting for me that the commitment is absolute. Even we are all paying high personal prices, to do this, but we think that it's worth it because we see every day the community and the fans and the employees and the teams. For me, this new team of Dota has revitalized me. I feel revitalized, and having Misha there has been godsend. He is everything that I've ever dreamed of having for the next version of a captain of a Dota team. He's kind, he's loving, he's humble, he's really funny, he's really charming. I don't know. We've been very lucky. Eh? I mean, it's not luck because we found him or you found him and also nurture him. But he's one of my favorite people in the world.
And I think it's like I've said this before to people. He looks like a man who wants something, and he truly wants it, and he is not going to let things stop it, because there's a big difference in people that want something and are going to let things stop them. But this guy, I think, has been shaped also, like many of us have, but he's been shaped through his desire from Dota, desire to prove something. I think has dictated a big part. I'm just guessing here, but I believe my read, because I see myself in it too, is he has been molded. He's been molded by competition. He's been molded by a big burning desire to show something to the world or to himself or to others. I don't know. Um, but it's built character. It has built this kindness. It has built this openness. It has forced him into uncomfortable positions. It's forced him to sacrifice. It's forced so many things. And yeah, I think what you said, like qualities of a captain, like Misha, very good find. Very few people who have this high level of motivation. I think a lot of people like to say that they're very motivated, like to think that they're showing it, but there is actually like a very stark difference in somebody who is on fire, like truly on fire, and somebody who claims to be motivated and looks pretty motivated. There's still a few stories in between, like a few levels higher. Yeah, Misha is like smoldering hot in every sense of the word.
We'll talk about Misha more next week. We have a few final thoughts. We have a few minutes. I would say that, yeah, for me, Misha, like you said, is a man on a mission. Eh? And we saw him on TI. He said it after the talk on TI. he said, "I'm going there. I want to get us there. Let me get us there." And we were like, "Okay, let's do it." But
No,
he
no.
knew where he was going. He was gonna get there with us or without us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's good.
it
It's
was
it's
pretty
very
fun.
cool too. It's very few. I think few times I'm going to get to experience that also in life, like seeing someone say something that they mean with so much intent and so much behind it. Like not just saying it. I have a plan, and even if I don't, I'm going to do it. Like really, really intense, and it's awesome to see. It's part of like the human experience, I guess. Like people will have it throughout their life. I've definitely had it, but seeing Misha have it, it's nice. It is more than nice. It is so good to see.
Well, this week was actually it ended up being more emotional and retrospective podcast. I also wanted to cover some of news and gossip that are going right now, but I think we're gonna have to do that for the next one. We're gonna continue figuring out what is the shape of this show, what is the shape of what we should do.
Yeah, and I think we'll figure out a nice way to sort this out better in the future. I mean, I think there's a lot to talk about from the past. I mean, there's stories upon stories, years. Like I would say, most of my adult life has been spent in this space, and most of it I think I've yet to talk about. Some things I probably haven't visited even in my own head for a long time. But there's so much going on. The relevant stuff that I definitely want to tag along the news, the fiend, the what's going on, the drama.
When we were doing the tech spec, he was like trying to figure out, like, how can I pull Reddit out on these
Yeah,
talks.
yeah,
We
yeah,
never got to
yeah,
it
yeah.
though.
No, no.
Maybe it's for
Next
the
week.
best because those news are
Yes,
still
yes.
not confirmed. All right. So what we'll do this once a week. The idea is that this podcast, we're gonna try to publish it every Tuesday. That's the plan. And it's not gonna be an interview podcast. It's gonna be both of us, but we will have guests at some points. It's just gonna be more like
If they want to
us
be on.
reviewing the world. If they want, or if not, if they're in our paycheck, in our payroll, it's because we make them. Anyway, thank you so much, Johan. And now we're actually gonna see our games. So this is recorded on a Saturday morning, and now we're
Yeah,
gonna see
viewing
the games.
party. Let's go. OG, OG. If they lose,
Right,
this is gonna get clipped, and this is gonna be out there. All right. Thanks, Jay. Thanks everyone for
Amazing.
tuning in.
Take care. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.